Hey there friends, fans, and collectors. Welcome to another episode of Binary Sunset Review. Today we are finally taking a look at the Target exclusive Vintage Collection Droids figures. Now these figures are particularly special from the card back to the coin to the paint job on the deco. I can't wait to take a look at these guys, but let's finally take a dive in. Here we go. Hit the subscribe button below to stay on the forefront of the best Star Wars news and reviews as soon as I make them. Comment below and help grow our community. Thanks so much for watching. Here we have a great shot of the front of the packaging for all three of these figures. Now these figures came 3 to the set. They were not all available at the same time, although most of them were available or somewhat available on shelves and shipped out the weekend of Celebration, so that was the 25th of May. It's really, really amazing to finally see these figures and have these figures together in the collection. Just the combination of that old Droids logo, which we know and love so many great years ago. The coins that are just a fabled memory from old figures, but great commemorative additions to anniversary builds. And then we have the Lucasfilm 50th logo there, which we've never seen with any of this stuff because it is only this year that we're celebrating that anniversary. We have the Kenner logo on the bottom commemorating all the old figures. And then we have the name, which is fun. Everything's in the same text as it was back in 1980 in the 80s with the Droids show with the rest of the figures that were released then. Now, as we can see, all of these figures are differently deco painted to match the old cartoon. They are similar figures that we've seen before in previous years, but with completely different paint jobs. And I love when Star Wars does this. I love these kind of figures. I know that people are always complaining, but I can't get enough of them. So especially when they're celebrating old anniversary Lucasfilm history now. And it's just so great to see them immortalized in these figure sets. Now we have coins, as I said, with each of them, but we have card backs. Let's keep with the card backs here. So from left to right, we have SEE-THREEPIO there. Just a great card back of him and R2 just getting picked up by one of these ships, by one of their masters at the time. We have ARTOO-DETOO next here, who is just mid R2 freak out from one of the scenes with a bunch of droids around him. We have Boba Fett just drawing his blaster, looking very ominously on. Great card backs for all of these. Amazing to celebrate the anniversary. Particularly great that we're doing so with these animated figure exclusives. Here we have the back side of the packaging. Now it is similar across all of these 3 figures, which is why I have them displayed like this. This set of Target exclusive figures was 3. It included SEE-THREEPIO, R2-D2, and Boba Fett. Now we can see the Lucasfilm 50th timeline brilliantly displayed on the back here, as we've seen with so many of our other launches in this year. We have Droids there prominently on the timeline in 1983, which is when the show that these figures are honoring came out. A whole bunch of legalese. We have the Hasbro logo on the bottom corner. We have the Disney logo right next to it, and then we have at the top a tiny little bit of flavor text with the 3 figures talking about them. For Boba Fett, it reads, Boba Fett, a notorious bounty hunter. Very simple. SEE-THREEPIO, protocol droid and translator. R2-D2, a feisty maintenance droid. So literally they all get a little sentence, but it's very cute, very concise, and very much emulating the original packaging that we saw back in the 80s. Here we have our Target exclusive Vintage Collection Droids figures out of the box. And I have to say, first impressions, these are some fabulous looking figures. Now these are all redeco and repainted figures of Vintage Collection figures that we had seen previously in the last couple of years, but it is great to see them in these 1980s style paint job and look. Like, man, we love the deco of the Droids Boba Fett figure here, and it's really fabulous to see. And this R2 also has a very different cartooned look. This is also the R2 that we saw with the spectroscope. That I'm not sure if this is the one that we're going to be seeing with Walmart, but I don't have an actual current R2 in Vintage Collection, so I'm really glad to have one in the collection. Now this SEE-THREEPIO is a redeco and repaint of the Empire Strikes Back 3PO reprint that we saw a couple of years ago, or a year or two ago. As you can see, this model of 3PO also has the removable plating, as we saw with the earlier 3PO. But his painting and detailing underneath is more attuned to the cartoon, so it's more this bluish undershading in tone with the white eyes. Different and unique, but what a great design of 3PO that they chose to repaint for this Droids. So the model of Boba Fett they chose to repaint and redeco was the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett. This is fabulous because Hasbro clearly has been listening to the fans when we talked about and gave such worthy praise to the mold and articulation that was this Boba Fett. These articulation updates really do improve his stance, his look, his scaling, all of it from the head to the toe. So I'm really, really glad they chose this model to repaint. This Boba's painting is special to Droids, the animated special, and the Faithful Wookiee special. So this is the look of animated Boba Fett that we saw in a bunch of the other expanded universe stories outside of the original trilogy. So it's fabulous that this is finally honored in a vintage collection figure. I am so happy to add this variation of Boba Fett to the collection. Here we have our Droids version of R2-D2. As we can see, the painting is a little bit more matte on the gray. It's not as chrome as we normally see him at the top. And his doors in the front are also sharing that same matte gray. We can see that his sensor scope extends at the top of his head there. It's really super neat. We also have one of the data tethers that pops out in the front of him there. Now it's a really unique design for this R2. I'm not sure if this shares, it must share a different design of a vintage collection figure, but I haven't unboxed an R2 in the vintage collection in a long, long time. So I actually am not updated on the models. Comment below if you know what type of R2-D2 vintage collection model this is repainted and redecoed. Now here we have a fabulous shot of the commemorative coins that come with each one of these figures. There are so many great home run moments in this figure set, but the way you can truly tell when you have a Star Wars anniversary figure in your hands is when you get a commemorative coin with it. Now these coins harken back to the old days when in the 80s, the original launches of most of these figures, they used to have these fun, awesome little coins. And they did them again with a huge bunch of figures back in the 30th anniversary. But now that we're at the 50th anniversary of Lucasfilm, it is fabulous to see that we're honoring this with not only different packaging, but some commemorative coins. I love these things. I have a collection of a bunch of them from the 30th anniversary, and that's it, because that was my childhood. But man, these things are fabulously cool. Each one is different for each one of the figures. We have Boba Fett here. It says Boba Fett, Notorious Bounty Hunter, and he's got the katana in the background. With R2-D2s, it has R2-D2 droids underneath, and with C-3PO, it's got C-3PO with a bunch of different other droids in the background, and it says droids. These coins are highly collectible, highly valuable, and really, really nice to look back and honor these amazing figures and the show that they came from. So each one of these coins is entirely unique to the figure themselves. They have the 50th logo on the back. It has the Droids logo, which is fabulous there. And then we have a little bit more of added flavor text. So this one says, a droid designed for mechanical repair and damage and data storage. He uses his collection of tools to get out of tight situations. And that's gotta be our favorite R2. So now let's flip and check 3PO out. So 3PO says, a protocol droid, conversant in over 6 million forms of communication. He is seeking a new master with his friend R2-D2. Adorable. Man, this text is tiny, and this is something that makes this just special. Let's check out Boba's. So Boba's reads, the most notorious bounty hunter in the galaxy, Boba Fett tracks Han Solo and returns him to Jabba the Hutt for a bounty. These coins have a wonderful gold shine to them, and they really do add to the uniqueness of the figure. Here we can see the evolution of Boba Fett through the Vintage Collection figures. We start with his Empire Strikes Back image on the far left there. We move to his Return of the Jedi image in the middle, and then we can see that the design they used for the Droids Boba Fett version is a repainted and retooled version of the Return of the Jedi Boba. Now this is really cool, it's neat to see, but it also flies a little in the face of the design of Boba that we saw on the actual Droid show. It's just beautiful to see this design of Boba, because even though it's not exactly screen accurate to the 1980s cartoon, it is definitely the best iteration in terms of articulation, design, paint app, deco, all around the best version of Boba right here. Now, we get a bunch of the paint and the deco removed so it can match the cartoon-esque feel, but we also get the brand new paint design that was only seen in the holiday special and on this droid show, Boba. I must mention, this version of Boba was also seen in the Faithful Wookiee Star Wars short. He is notably missing the pistol in his Return of the Jedi form, which means he's also going to be missing it for this Droids figure. Let's talk articulation for our Vintage Collection Droids Boba. Now, we can do a little 360 here. We have a great paint and deco design. He's got a different color cape, a completely different jetpack that matches his armor plating, just looking great. Because he is the Return of the Jedi mold, we have some fabulous articulation for him also. Now we have arms that can go all the way up and he can tee with them. His pauldrons are separated from his armor, which really give him some fabulous mobility with the arms. Moving down to the waist, we have a Shakira hips right there. He's got some great articulation. Moving on down to the legs, we have thigh joints right there. We also have swiveling knee joints. We also have swiveling thigh joints here. We got a huge amount of articulation in the legs. I am happy to say that he also does have his rocker ankles. This really is a great display and a great example of modern Vintage Collection articulation. All right, now we're going to talk articulation for the SEE-THREEPIO figure. Now this articulation is exactly the same as the Empire Strikes Back 3PO figure that we saw a couple of years ago. Still really nice articulation for this 3PO figure. We have our arms that go all the way out to T. He's got some nice elbow joints, some shoulder joints. We don't have wrist joints. His chest piece obviously does come off also, as you can see here. We have minimal hip articulation, but for a protocol droid, that's pretty normal. He can turn his waist a little bit like that. And moving on down, he's got leg joints, but he cannot move his legs too high. His knees can bend pretty efficiently, but just like the regular 3PO, he's got pretty minimal leg motion there due to his plating. He has ankle joints, but of course no butterfly ankles, not for this protocol droid. And we do have the original Vintage Collection articulation, which does not have the thigh joints or the spinning out thighs. I didn't have a previous Vintage Collection version of the ARTOO-DETOO, so this is actually my first version, but I'm sure it's a redecoed print of a different R2 that we saw previously. But the thing that really sticks out for me is his spectroscope. When you push his little middle foot in, he's got this awesome little spectroscope that pops up, our famous little scope that we know and love. And you can turn it on around, you can do that manually, but it pops up when you put his foot in. Super neat. I really love that. And he also has a little data tether. Now, just great, he's got an opening door and he's got a spectroscope up there. We are going to be seeing a new R2-D2, as we know, with the spectroscope. It's a Walmart exclusive that we're going to be seeing later this year or next year. But this is a fabulous little R2-D2 mold. I'm really excited to have the data tether and the spectroscope up there. As we can see, you can fully extend his middle leg. You can move his little tracker here back and forth, the middle tracker, so you can get him classically rolling on the ground there. Here we have the accessories that come with all three figures. With the R2-D2, we have his little spectroscope that comes out the top. Everything else is attached to his figure. For Boba Fett, we have his special drab brown jetpack that's suited for his chest armor, and his EE-3 rifle that's in a special kind of bluish shade. For 3PO, we have his removable plating. We have 4 plates in total that come off this figure, and that can come off and make him look oh so naked underneath. These are a brilliant homage of figures in an anniversary year to a fantastic animated series that is now close to 30 years old. I don't know about many of you, but since the re-release on Disney Plus, I had been watching through the Droids series again, both the animated series, but I had completely forgotten how much story arc and how much actual history of Star Wars went into Droids. It was really like a decently well thought out stories and plot lines that were pretty compelling and are still fun to watch even this many years out. It makes me really appreciate these figures so much more, and very grateful that Hasbro decided to include this wave in their year of Lucasfilm 50th figures. When Droids came out in 1983, there was a line of figures that I had actually forgotten the depth of this line, but at Star Wars Celebration I was able to see so many different figures from that set. most of which looked exactly like this, and a lot of which came with coins themselves. So this isn't just a new thing that Hasbro is doing, they are literally picking the exact same design for these 3 figures as was seen almost 30 years ago and replicating it now for 2022. Really was neat to see the depth of this collection in the 80s, and I'm so glad to add some of these reprints to my current collection now. These were Target exclusives here in the US. I'm not sure about overseas. Please comment below if you had ease or difficulty finding these. Now these were released in waves, with 3PO arriving to us in December and the other 2 figures not arriving until late spring, early summer. I know there's some supply issues in the US, but it is interesting when sets of exclusive figures like this have completely different arrival times. There are so many pros with these figures. Just the fact that they're honoring a vintage now show, the different paint decos of already great vintage collection articulated figures, the collectible coins that come with them. It really is a fabulous launch that is full of pros. I would recommend this figure absolutely. This set can be found on shelves some places. Obviously the Boba Fett figure is a little bit harder to find, but using the Target app, you can see what's in your range. A con I would have to always say is availability. These were domestic Target exclusives, which sadly leaves out our overseas collectors and the international Star Wars community. Thanks so much for watching another episode of Binary Sunset Review. As always, I've been Mike. Your likes and your views are always greatly appreciated. Let me know in the comments below if you got your hands on this set, what you think of these figures. Remember to hit that subscribe button below if you haven't already done that.
Get ready.
Stay on the forefront of the best Star Wars news and reviews as soon as I make them. I hope you're enjoying your summer out there. Get some sun, spend some time on yourself. Stay safe, stay sane, and remember, the Force will be with you, always.
I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the